Hello, I'm Tony.
And I'm Art, and we're here from
Garden with a Z.com.
GardenMasters.com.
And today, go ahead.
Today, we just wanted to give you a little background of our lives, of how we got interested in plants and landscaping, and
So you can get to know us a little bit better.
yeah,
And because we find when people get to know us, they trust us to help them with their landscaping, right?
that is correct, Tony.
I'm going to start with you.
Yes, I wanted to tell you a little bit of growing up. I really got the love of plants from being around my grandmother. My grandparents had a farm, and they had animals on the farm and so forth, but my grandmother had a real love of plants. And I'm talking about annuals and perennials and vegetables.
I was going to say vegetables, right?
And houseplants. So that's where it all started with me.
You used to visit your grandmother quite a bit, didn't you? You told me.
I did.
Yeah.
It was sort of one of those things that Grandma was the babysitter, which probably happens in most families.
And I am going to apologize for background noise. You know, we film mostly outside, and this is something you have to deal with every now and then. But, you know, we like being outside. You like being outside. That being said, continue, Art.
Yeah, so from that, I had parents also that loved gardening. My father, after his schooling and so forth, he started working on a golf course, and he would keep the greens up and so forth. So he always had the love of plants and landscaping, that type of thing. So we always kept a beautiful yard.
And your mom, she did too. It must be in your genes.
So when you're brought up around horticulture, landscaping, plants, once you love it, you'll never get away from it. And that's a good thing.
I guess that's true. Now, for me, I didn't grow up in that environment. Art grew up on a farm. Now, he didn't grow up on the farm. His grandmother had a farm, but it was rural. On the other hand, I grew up in a city. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. So, you know, I didn't really have that background. I want to say my family I had a few relatives that were really into gardening, but my parents were not. My mom tried. You know, she had her little gardens and stuff, but I think she wanted to get better, but she really didn't know a lot at the time. Now, on my father's side, his mom and his sister, my Aunt Mary, had beautiful gardens. I remember going over there as a kid, and her backyard. I remember lots of pansies in my Aunt Mary's yard, and you know, that's kind of all I remember there. Art was saying he remembers.
I remember I met his Aunt Mary, and I've only been over to her house a couple times. She has passed since then.
Many years ago.
And I just remember she had a lot of astilbe, a lot of different varieties. She was very proud.
See, he knew what astilbe was at the time. I did not.
So, if I remember correctly, I think she had every variety that was out at that time. I believe, Tony, she also loved azaleas.
Yeah, she did have some azaleas. I knew what those were at the time. And my father's mother, my grandmother, also had lots of azaleas and roses especially. And that's where I got my love for roses. I just loved the smell of roses. They were just so great as a kid. So, you know. But I was not really into gardening at the time, you know, as a kid. No, it really wasn't. So, but anyway, continuing.
From childhood, getting into 10, 12 years old, whatever, I started working for different people doing their lawn care. So at that point in my life...
That was an early age to start that.
So at that point in my life,
So when we say Art's been doing it all his life, we really mean it.
yeah,
So,
and I'll never give it up either.
so talk about college, Art.
So before we go on with that, I did the lawn maintenance. I had one client that was very wealthy, and every time I came to cut her grass after school, she would have boxes and boxes of different perennials and stuff that she wanted planted around the yard. Back at that time, I was making $5 an hour to cut her monstrous lawn, and I don't remember what my hourly rate was. But I was like, I've been to school all day, I got homework to do, I just mowed your lawn, and seriously, you have all these plants for me?
Funny how that still goes on today. We'll get to clients' houses and they'll say, oh, by the way, can you do this? Or I just bought these plants. Can you plant them? Well, we weren't planning on doing that today, but if we don't, they might die, so I guess we have to.
So anyways, after doing all of that, after I graduated from high school, I was thinking, well, I really would like to be an architect. Well, my math skills weren't 100%, and when I looked at all the math courses and so forth, I decided, well, I should do something that I love.
And what would that be?
Landscaping.
Yes, so Art got his degree in landscaping. Tell him a little bit about college, because he has some interesting stories
It was landscape development, and I had a nursery major. And I just want to say, getting into the first semester, there's a course called Woody Plants. And Woody Plants is basically learning, all your plants. As far as trees and shrubs. Another course I took was herbaceous plants and bedding plants, and we can go on and on from there. But so picture starting college in September, and I went to a school that was in a valley, and it got very cold. Well,
there. No, New York State.
So your college, that first semester.
Hold on a minute. We had a school bus going by.
Somebody's getting an education to be a horticulturist. So anyways, the first semester, which goes September through December, whatever, woody plants. And I was always told this is what makes or breaks a horticultural student, because you have to memorize. I'm thinking it was somewhere around 15 plants a week.
A week, really?
Maybe it was more. But you went out in the field, and you were learning all the aspects of plants. You would learn their fall color, their flowering color, different zones that they grew in, so on and so forth. Well, I tell you, September, there wasn't many weeks of learning plants with their leaves on. So here's step 2. All the leaves dropped. You had to memorize. One of the labs or whatever is when you're walking around the campus and you're learning these shrubs by their buds, their stems, their growth habit, and so forth. So just picture, you get all these new plants that you're learning, and the end of the week, you're tested on it. Now, the professor, he would bring in stems, sticks, and you had to identify those. So you can imagine why so many people failed that course, and they were out of the program. But I survived. I felt that was very, very interesting learning, Tony.
And
so, other...
I remember studying different trees and Boy Scouts, and it just wasn't my thing.
But I have to say, that was the most interesting course, and if I was ever to take another course again, I would love to take that course, because Tony sometimes is amazed when we're driving to work and we're driving down the road, and I'll say, check out that beech tree, and he'll say, how did you know that was a beech tree? And it's like, well, the way it's growing and so forth. And
yeah.
So I could be driving down the road and pick out poison ivy when it's dormant, driving 60 miles an hour.
He can pick out poison ivy in his sleep.
So after college, I worked locally for a landscape company, doing some installation, but it was only a couple months, and one of my college roommates that was in landscape development, she called me and said that one of the largest companies in the United States was hiring.
So that's how it happened.
Would I like to interview? And they did a phone interview, and they hired me.
And the rest is history.
So from there, I moved to Maryland and started with this company, and I worked with them for many years. And then Tony was actually doing some video work. I ended up stopping that company and went to help him. But in the meantime, we lived in a townhouse community. One of our neighbors had asked us if we could take care of her lawn. Well, we decided that's a good thing to do. We can do this.
Well, she asked us because she saw us doing our own lawn and she liked how it looked.
So I decided, at that time, I wasn't planning on starting a side business of landscape maintenance. And basically, we did lawns around the neighborhood. We didn't have all the equipment that we needed. I started with hand shears trimming before I was able to get my first weed eater. So from that point...
Yeah, one thing led to another, because we started with that neighbor across the street, and she really liked it, and we did hers. I don't remember for how long. Then somebody else would say, oh, can you do mine? And then someone else would say, can you do mine? And it's like, okay, well, we can do that, and this is what happened. And I want to say people kept coming to us asking us to do their stuff too, and that's how this whole business started.
So it's funny because we started in the neighborhood, and I only had a 4Runner at the time, and I didn't have a trailer or anything, and we said we're only picking up clients that we can walk to. So before you know it, people got to know us and said, can you do it over here, do it over there? And
pretty soon these clients were referring other people they knew that lived out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, their friends and so forth.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing the landscape maintenance, and before you know it, somebody was saying, so can you replace my shrubs or whatever? And it's like, well, sure. I got this background. We can do whatever you want. And from there, people were saying, can you do a paver patio for me? And it's like, oh my God, we only have a 4Runner. It's like, we got to get mulch and rock and all this stuff in the 4Runner. So we managed to do that. And we did landscaping of an entire brand new house. Large property, whatever. We had all the plants delivered and everything. But as we were going along, Tony just really got to love landscaping.
I did. Yeah, I did. I really, I absolutely love it. Well, I've always liked being outside. I just love nature and stuff like that. But the thing is, learning all the different plants, I didn't really know their names very well, and I didn't really have a desire to learn their names very well in the beginning. But as time went on, I don't know, I would hear a plant's name and I would just kind of remember it. Now, it's still not perfect, but it just started to click with me, and it's like, oh, I really like this. And I don't know, I'm kind of like an artist anyway, so I feel like when we're creating gardens, we're actually creating art. It's kind of the way I look at it, because every garden can be different with a different design depending on how you design it. So
Tony's an artist. And I'm art. So
I'm no Van Gogh.
You know what? He used to paint landscape pictures?
I did.
Of nature.
I did. I was painting in my younger days. I took art classes, but it was always landscapes. That's what I painted. So anyway, I guess I was destined to work landscaping, I guess.
So, you know, everything kind of went hand in hand. I mean, when we had to draw a design, Tony is not a professional landscape designer on paper, but he would draw plans or whatever. They weren't to scale or whatever, but he would give the client an idea of what they're going to expect. So down the line, you know, word of mouth, you know, people just kept asking us, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do that?
And, you know, I'm going to pat ourselves on the back, on the shoulders, because, I mean, this all came from people seeing what we do and wanted the same thing. I mean, we get glowing reviews of our installations, and people just love them, and they are very nice. And, you know, so we have not spent one single penny on advertising. It's all been word of mouth. And right now we have over 50 clients, and you know, we have people on the waiting list. If you like this video, just like it and subscribe to our channel. In addition, if you want a beautiful garden similar to the one above, join our free gardening tips newsletter by going to gardenmasters.com/subscribe. Let us help you create the garden of your dreams.